Hello everyone, Megas here. Today we're going to do a quick review of the newest map in Stardew Valley and my thoughts on it. This is Four Corners. It was added in 1.4, kind of as more of a multiplayer map, and as you can see, it definitely showcases that. So, let's start off with the top left portion, right in here. So, what we got here is we've got more of the traditional kind of like layout. It's more of the forest farm stylized. You got a little bit of the greenery down here. You've got like some hardwood. Basically, it drops. Also, some of the weeds will drop the stuff that you can find in the forest map. You got a little lake for like fishing, so it's all right. And you obviously have the cave up in here. Sorry, not the cave, the grave site. Now, let's go over to the right-hand side. You've got more of the traditional setup. You got some decent farming land. You've got, like, once again, the little water area. There's not really any, like... There's not really any unusable space except for up here. But for the most part, it's pretty standard. So if we go down to the bottom left, this is more of kind of where you can do like more of the fishing. So you've got a bigger fishing area. You've kind of got more, you still got like a lot of the hardwood. It actually looks like this one has some of the most. There's some weeds, that kind of stuff. You also have down at the bottom right, now we have some of the rocks. We have some geodes. So this one's kind of one of the bigger like differences, whereas the other ones you're kind of stuck with more of the traditional style. Like you're kind of confined with everything else. You've got your basic. This still has the watering area. This kind of is the best quadrant in my mind, just for that mere fact. And also, I mean, like, you got it's all broken up by cliffs, so like it's harder to get in between. You can break these obviously, but that's kind of the quick overview general, but I kind of want to show what it looked like in practice. You also do get a nicer, newer house. I actually really like the layout of this one a lot. It's kind of got this like very interesting architecture, kind of the more modern. Very nice. Alright, so let's go ahead. Let's just chop our way through. So this is your basic one, and as you can see, you kind of got like... It's a lot more limited. This is my only issue with this is, outside of using this for multiplayer, this map doesn't look clean. It doesn't look pretty. It just kind of looks there. It's definitely like, and everyone has access to really the greenhouse if you wanted to do it that way. But overall, like, you don't have a lot of access to as much farming area. Like, everything just feels so, it feels like you're playing like a mobile version of Stardew. Like, they shrank it down, they like really like compact it. That's kind of what this feels like. Like you can almost see from the sides each corner, which I think is just, I don't know, it's too tight for me. And I'm not a big fan of that. I think that's just, I don't know, I think it makes it just, it feels good for competitive. It does not feel good for like other modes. I think it's just too much. So as we go down to here, you can kind of see this is more of the fishing area like one. You got a lot more pond. It's not that huge. It's bigger than the starting one that you get with the standard, I believe, or it's around the same size. But it's overall, it's just okay. It's not really that great. The dog would be right in here, or the cat, whatever. So let's see, we got... Down in here, we're gonna start coming down here. Now, this is where, like, I'll be honest, I feel like this is a big problem with the game in general, is like, if you start down here, you already have access to copper, to some of your geodes, to clay. Like, you have just, like, it means like you can't have a competitive version of this, really. Like, if you're trying to, and I know, Stardew isn't, like, competitive, but It is. There is speed runs for this game. There are people that go out and do like first to so much money, first to marriage, first to like anything. And honestly, I feel like if you start down here in the bottom right, you still have a decent amount of farmland. You have access to the geodes, which you can kind of take and sell, so you can kind of get that initial first beat. And you also have access to copper. Copper, like, while it might not be as important, it's a big, like, it's the first stepping stone. So, I mean, like, yeah, you're getting, like, I'm just curious, you're getting, what, for your first starter, you get about, let's just roughly say, let's see. Alright, so I've gotten, like, 10. Is that huge? No, but that's still 3 frickin' like ingots. 3 ingots, I believe. Is it 3 or 5? It's been a while, I'm not entirely sure, but you also get like access to some coal. So overall, this little area is just so much better than like the other areas. That's the thing, you can like really utilize this space, I think, the best. And it is just too much of a benefit to make like, okay, we have this down here, it's not as competitive. Because I believe you can still fish in these little ponds, you're just not going to get as much. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not too sure on that. So outside that, let's see, what else? I feel like the top right one's just the worst. Obviously this is for like the main player. So you kind of are stuck with like unusable land. Well, right in here, yeah. So that's kind of a detractor. My other big issue with this is, so we're knocking out that there's no competitive like multiplayer scene with it, because unless you're giving someone advantages, you know, what's the point? Outside that, you're not going to be able to utilize as much space. The just overall feel of like, it's hard to like really throw out like how bad that top right one is. It's just there's no reason if you get to choose, don't choose that one. I feel like there's just no bonus to it. It's just a worthless one. So we've kind of handled the 4 corners, what's going on with those. The cave system, I guess maybe the 2 on the left have the best access to it. Probably this one has the best access to it. Well, for what it's worth, I mean, it depends on how you want to break that down when people decide to play it, if they're going to play like kind of a competitive multiplayer version of it. Once again, don't know how realistic that is. What I do think, so I know I've complained about this a ton already, so good things about this. First of all, if you are going to play with friends and you kind of want to have that dedicated space, like somebody's up here, they're mining their own, you know, and like your buddy is down doing his thing, you don't run that risk of like kind of going like, all right, was the crops that were here, were those all mine? Were the crops here mine? Or were the other crops there mine? And I think like that's where it just kind of like really like doesn't make sense to like, I feel like there's better ways to do it. You could still do it with the like other farms, just like building like some sort of like fencing or something. But I guess if it's more or less you want to like have this pre-set up and get everything kind of in place beforehand, it kind of allows you to do that. But overall, I don't think it's that great of a map. I actually think it's probably my least favorite. I would say this is probably the worst one out of all of them, just in my opinion. But this has been kind of a quick review of the Four Corners map. We will be starting up the actual like series here soon. Just getting some stuff in place. If you do have a map suggestion on which one, definitely leave the comment here. But until next time, leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe. This is Rev Mega saying I'll catch you later.